Welcome to Alaska EdVenture, hosted by Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. This award-winning podcast is your gateway to the heart of Alaska's educational landscape. In each episode, we'll explore the unique perspectives of guests who are shaping education in the last frontier. Join us on Alaska EdVenture as we share the insights and inspirations found in Alaska's K-12 classrooms.
Welcome back to the Alaska EdVenture podcast. I'm Dr. Luke Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. And today we are in one of the coolest backdrops I think we've shot our podcast in. We are out at North Pole High School's automotive shop. And I have one of our excellent educators with us, one of our students, and our CTE director today. And so love to go around and have you guys introduce yourself, and then really excited for the conversation to talk about career and technical education here in Fairbanks. And then specifically, man, the amazing certification that North Pole High has worked on recently and worked hard to achieve. So let's start off with our student rep over here and have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Jeremy, and I'm a sophomore here at North Pole High School, and I am primarily in the automotive course.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy, for being willing to talk with us today.
All right. I'm Travis Cortez. I am the small engines and automotive instructor here at North Pole High School. And to kind of help Jeremy with that, he's currently in our automotive pathway program. So he's planning to take all the automotive offerings, and he's already taken the small engine offering too. So he's what we call a frequent flyer here. So,
in the best sort of way.
yes. In the best sort of way.
I'm Andrea Wade, and I'm the Director of Career and Technical Education for the Fairbanks North Starborough School District.
Well, great to have you guys here today, and thanks for being willing to join the conversation and talk about CTE and where CTE is headed. And Andrea, we're going to start at a high level today to talk about career and technical education across the district, and then we'll narrow in on the amazing things that are happening at North Pole High. And so can you give us an update on where we're at with career and technical education here in Fairbanks?
Yeah, sure. First, I think the first level is to kind of understand. A lot of people don't understand why we have the pathways that we have. Mm-hmm. And that goes directly back to what our needs are in our community. So we do a comprehensive local needs assessment, and we talk to business people, we talk to shop owners, we talk to, nail salons, we talk to anybody who will talk to us. Mm-hmm. And we talk about the jobs that are available in our community for our students. And we not only do that, but we look at statewide, what's going to be available on the state level, different projects that are coming forward. And then we build those pathways up for our community and for our students to be successful. And, and our hope, I think, as a lot of parents in the school district, is our kids stay in the community. But that's a lot of what we do. And so when we do our pathways in our district, that's really what we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that we're responsive to community and state needs. Mm-hmm. And there's a big call from the state level that we need more students entering the workforce right away. And so making sure that we're responsive to those needs is great. Could you talk a little bit about some of the advisory committees that we have that help guide that process?
So we encourage all teachers who are teaching a pathway, like Travis here, to have an advisory committee on the school level talking about their needs in their individual shops and their classrooms. We also have one at the district level that we pull in more people from, and we look at things from a higher level. We're looking at, participation, how can we get more funding, how we can bring more students into these pathways and allow students the opportunity while they're in high school to do this career exploration. Mm-hmm. Some kids know right from the day they walk into high school what exactly they're going to do. Other students don't, and it gives them an opportunity to try some different things out without having to pay the big bucks that come into play after you graduate from high school. Yeah. So we're trying to make those opportunities available. But those advisory committees, that's the blood of our programs. It's bringing in those people in the actual industries that are working, and they're able to work with our teachers. They're able to work with our students. They let us know if what we're teaching curriculum-wise is up to industry standards. And so we really rely on them. They, when Travis has an advisory meeting, they're walking around his shop saying, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And we really, really appreciate those partnerships that we have with our advisory committees.
Absolutely. And something people might not realize is a lot of our teachers come directly from industry. And Travis, I know you're an example of that. So you could could you talk a little bit about, that transition, and then you still kind of keeping in contact with industry to ensure that what you're teaching aligns with what the needs are out there?
Yeah, so I would say I'm kind of your non-traditional automotive technician, as I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. I actually was working in the Ford dealership as an automotive detailer. I was washing cars, cleaning cars. And I love telling this story because all it took was one day. There was a technician in the shop that I was working in, and he happened to leave his pay stub out, and I saw his paycheck, and I said, well, my paycheck's 1/4 of that. Like, what do I got to do to make more money like this? And so I started having those conversations, which then it worked out great because I worked in a dealership that had a post-secondary program, which was the Ford Asset Program. They agreed to sponsor me. They paid me while I was there. And it was kind of a cool hybrid. I tell kids about this. It's still around, but essentially you would go to school, college, for half a semester, and then half a semester you'd work in the shop. I did that for a total of 5 semesters. It was a 2-year associate's degree. Came out, when you come out of that program, you have all the certifications you need because you're getting them right there in their schools. You get a bump in pay, and then you just need some time in the shop working to gain that experience. And really, I always talk about it's about 5 years. You get the confidence where you trust your judgments. You've seen enough to where you can make those judgment calls that you got to make. So really great. I left the dealership and I started teaching for the university. Same program we have here. There's slight differences. Where they have a practicum there where kids have to actually go out and work. They get more hours on the job, or in the shop rather. But I taught there for about 3 years, and then I ended up going back to school second time. But ever since I left, I've had some real big supporters that had always said, I'm pulling you back in the industry. This is where you belong. You're really good at this. Like, we got to get you back into the industry. And I'm going to credit Jeremy Warwick from HQ Auto for that. He did not let me live that up. So he stayed on me, and now he's one of my biggest supporters, one of our biggest supporters.
Mr. Anderson
and so,
and Mr. Bailiff,
give me a second.
Austin Anderson and Mr. Bailiff.
Always fun shooting in the school. You never know what you're going to get.
This is how we live. So it was really great. He actually talked me into it. He talked Jerry Million into it. And it happened during COVID. I mean, it was as simple as I had asked him how Million was doing during COVID, how he was teaching classes. He didn't respond. He goes to bed early. The next morning I wake up and I had roughly 37 missed calls, text messages where those two were both trying to get a hold of me, and ended up pulling me back in. I say there's some stars that align there. I came back in, and it was for what we were wanting to do, what we needed. It was really easy because I'd been through that process, and I was a firm believer in it and realized like the benefits I got from that, how much it's helped me in my life. And I still say this to this day, like automotive, like I've made the majority of my money from automotive one way or the other. So, and there's some really cool things that I see now that I point out. I called them 3 barriers to entry when Joni Simpson hired me. I said, there's 3 barriers to entry that I see in the automotive. One is the forcing of the students to go to post-secondary. It used to be a time when my grandpa was around that you can go into a shop. They're taking that now. They realize the need. There's such high demand for technicians that they're seeing that now. The second was the cost of tools. A lot of shops are helping with that cost now. And then the third was the pay, and we've just seen the pay rate for technicians here locally just skyrocket. So I'm happy for all the technicians out there right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, thanks for your efforts and producing the next generation of technicians, and you're giving back. I mean, I'm sure you could go out in the private sector and make way more money than what we're able to pay you here, but the investment in our youth here is going to pay dividends over the years to come. Yeah. Jeremy, what got you interested in automotive and exploring that pathway?
I mean, I've really always liked cars, and then I realized there's a whole class on learning to work on engines and, that sort of stuff. And I was like, I'd rather do hands-on than just textbook work, and it keeps me entertained. So I feel like that plays a big role in it.
Absolutely. And do you have a favorite kind of subsection of engines you like working on? Like, is it cars or is it snow machines or ATVs or lawnmowers?
So I would say either cars or the lawnmower engine.
Okay, awesome. Well, those will both keep you busy. So thinking still about CTE, at the district or state level, there's definitely been a call for more CTE courses here within the district and the state, and as a board and as an administration myself, very supportive of that. We want our students to have options and know that going into the trades or going right into the workforce is a legitimate and great option for any student that's interested in that. But sometimes there's limiting factors in terms of what we can provide. I mean, there's a ton of pathways out there that I would still love to provide our students. But what are some of the limiters, Andrea, that prevent us from offering all the pathways we would like to?
Well, I think, a lot of it comes down to facilities. What do we have available in the school, in the school district as far as being able to offer shop classes, or, the beauty of CTE is it's in everything.
Yeah.
So when we look at bringing in another pathway, we have to ask ourselves, do we have the space for this in our already existing world? I think it was like in the 90s, they went through and pulled out a lot of shops out of high schools across the United States. And that happened here in our district as well. North Pole, for whatever reason, they had some of their shop space left. And then in 2014, I believe it was, there was a renovation of this wing of the school. And allowed to bring these shops up to date. When we are looking at things, we're looking at right now, I think in our district right now, we're looking at what fits in a classroom. So we're looking at things like next semester, we're hoping to have a start of a cosmetology program at Lathrop, which we're really excited about. So it's a lot of pieces go into deciding on what those are, but I agree. We could come up every day with something that we're like, oh, kids would love this.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to, where can we afford to put this and working forward. And I think we're really rocking it in a lot of ways with what we're looking at. And the schools have been great about opening their doors and being creative in ways of thinking on how to do things. And I think you're going to see more things here in the next couple of years that are just going to do really, really good things for our students.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you talked about the facilities being one of the limiting factors, as we travel around the U.S. and look at other CTE programs and high schools. One of the things that sometimes they have is big corporations or partners that will actually build facilities for them. And so, I know Andrea's plugged into that, and, she regularly solicits partnership opportunities for our district. But, if there's somebody out there that would really love to see a certain CTE pathway take off here in Fairbanks, we're always open to those conversations because some of the limiting factor are the resources that we have or don't have to make these things go. A lot of times when people think of career and technical education in the past, you talked a little bit about the history and progression of it. It's like an either or, like either students are headed to careers or the workforce or they're headed to college. But in hearing your story, I mean, you've weaved both of those things together. And I think that's more common than people think.
Yeah, I would definitely say, and, in a lot of senses, especially with all my friends, they're like, you're an anomaly, especially with the accounting background as well. They're kind of like, you do this, but you also do this. We would have never expected that. But I think, what I tell people is they're, well, how are you able to do that? And it comes down to one thing in both. It's patterns, figuring the patterns out. Automotive has patterns and pathways, and there's a way to go through and logically work your way through problems. It's the same way in accounting. You're going to logically work your way through those and just figuring out the patterns and becoming comfortable in that 5 years that I told you. I think that's a big key, is just getting used to those things. And it is high level stuff, but the issue that, like, when I have these conversations with my friends is I go, what you don't understand is that automotive is super, super technical.
Yeah.
And I have this conversation quite a bit, like with other teachers. And it's simple things like when we look at a math class, or if we look at biology, what's changed in biology in the last 5 years, or in algebra in the last 5 years? And then I go, now let me tell you what's changed in automotive in the last 1 year.
Yeah.
Like there's so much advancement. And then also, as I've gotten older and matured, I've realized like the bridging of the gaps between those two the sciences or the maths and how that's all integrated into automotive. So those days of the old, I make this reference of there's mechanics and there's technicians. Mechanics and technicians can both work on anything that has nuts and bolts. Technicians, they understand the technical side of things, the programming of the computers, the electrical and electronics, which sets you apart.
Yeah.
So very technical stuff, and it takes high-level dudes or gals out there right now. We're seeing it. It was pretty cool. I was actually in Seekins the other day, and I've been hearing about, I had a girl there, and I went in, and I didn't know her name or anything. I was like, I've heard about you.
That's great.
So it's really cool to see.
Well, and your program is one that there's lots of entry and exit points.
Yes.
So you can have a student come in and be like, I want to know automotive for my life. And they take basic auto because everyone's going to own a car.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, most likely.
Yep.
But then you have those kids that take those first classes and it inspires them and they're they want to continue on with it. So you could have a kid who's working in a shop here in town. You can have a kid who goes with the operator engineers and does an apprenticeship program, or you have a kid going and getting their automotive engineering degree just from this class. And, I think that opens up lots of doors for kids, all different levels.
Yeah, I think you definitely touched on something there, which is there's the benefit here, I would say, at North Pole High School. We still have a lot of kids that either parents, uncles, grandparents are still tinkering around in the shops. They keep them in the shops. Equally as much, we have a large group of students that come through my basic auto class, and they're like, you have to change your oil.
Yeah.
You change out windshield wiper blades. Some of them never even put gas in their vehicle. So it's really understanding hey, we got to get super basic with this. And it's just, time is such a demand right now.
For sure.
For everybody.
Yep.
So some of the kids are missing out on those things that used to be, you had to do these things. You learn these things. So.
Absolutely. And a good reminder to parents right there. I think there's things that you can incorporate, into your daily workflow. I know my daughter, who's 8 years old, she loves helping me pump gas.
Yes.
And so that's a first, she's learning how it all works and putting it in. And, as I go to change windshield wiper blades, kids can help with those things.
Yes.
And they really like it. For the most part. I mean, do you remember a time where your family was working on something and they allowed you to be a part of it?
Many times.
Many times.
I couldn't narrow it down to just one.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the creative classes, a couple of them actually, we've had a class called Amped on Algebra out here at North Pole High. And then there's a building and construction or geometry and construction class that is a melding of your core academics with a core academic teacher partnering with a CTE teacher, which I think is the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. One of the things we've been hearing from students and from parents, they want to see relevance. And students, a lot of times will sit in a class and say, why am I learning this? Well, I think geometry and construction is a perfect example of why you're learning this.
Yes.
They do math and then they take that math and they go right back into the shop and they work on that math. I remember when I did geometry, it would have been nice to really understand what those formulas meant and put it into action. So we're seeing kids from all different learning levels wanting to do that class, and that's exciting for us because we're seeing those students jump in there and really getting something out of it and coming out of it with a product that they're just I could do this at home, or I can make this a career. The beautiful thing about CTE, and you'll hear it from CTE teachers, and CTE is in everything. So a lot of times people think CTE and they think the automotive shop.
Yeah.
But CTE is our health science. CTE is our culinary arts. CTE is our engineering programs. We have lots and lots of pathways in our district that they aren't just in a shop.
Yep.
Even though we do have some phenomenal shop classes, but CTE bridges across, and we're doing a lot more of cross-crediting classes in our district, in our curriculum, because we know if you get to the 4th level of building trades, we know that you have done a lot of math.
Absolutely.
And you should be getting math credit for those skills that you're doing and the understanding level. And, same with health science. We have a math and healthcare class. We have a lot of these classes cross-credited with the university. So our goal in our district is for students to graduate having completed a pathway, if that's their goal, and have an opportunity for dual credit with the university system, have industry recognized certificates that if they want to go out and just start working right away, they have those that they can walk in. And then also to have an internship opportunity.
Yeah.
Because we do see students who have done some of our internships they're like, I want to do accounting. And they go and do accounting and they have a great experience, but they come out and they're just like, I made the decision not to do accounting.
Yes.
And that's as powerful as, a kid who is still like, headstrong, working towards that end goal of being an accountant. We want to give kids those opportunities.
I love that. And a safe environment and low risk environment.
Yes.
I mean, we don't want students going to school for 2 or 4 years, paying thousands of dollars and then wind up like, I really don't want to use that degree.
Right.
So if we can do that now in a low risk way, I think that's great. And, when we were exploring the implementation of some of these classes, one of my pauses was I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a watered down version of math. And there's a lot of data around the students that are participating in these classes actually do better on assessments and tests and things down the road than students just taking some of the traditional math classes. And so don't want people to think by combining them and it's a watered down version. It really isn't. And man, the application is tough. I think I'm not necessarily the handiest guy when it comes to doing things around the house, but I feel like some of the hardest math problems I've ever worked on is when you're starting to try to build something.
Yep.
You're like, wow, I'm putting those skills to work.
Right.
So I'd love to drill in on what's happening here at North Pole High, not only in the automotive program, but specific CTE classes. So could we have a little bit of an overview of what's happening right here at North Pole High? And then we'll talk about the ASC certification in just a little bit.
Do you want me to jump in on
you
it?
can chime in on that.
Here at North Pole, one of the beautiful things about North Pole and a lot of our other high schools are the answer yes when you bring something up. Hey, do you guys want to try this?
Yeah.
Yes, we'd like to try it. So here at North Pole, they currently have their automotive program. They have a welding pathway. We're beginning a building trades pathway. They have an engineering pathway. It has been put on hold this year as we do some restructuring. They have an agricultural pathway and a health science pathway. So we're really excited about those coming in. And, one of the things that has happened here at North Pole is these pathways that have come in have come a lot from student interest. And so that's been exciting to see over the years, students coming and saying, we're very interested in agriculture or health science. We know you have a third of the population of the high school that's interested in a health science pathway. Engineering, which, when we do engineering, it ties in beautifully with a building trades program. So really looking at those and trying to keep those strong. We don't want to add too much too fast because we only have so many kids in the world, but that's kind of what's going on here at North Pole currently with their pathways.
Okay. And what CTE classes have you taken so far in your educational career, and what are some that you might be looking forward to down the road?
So currently I have taken obviously I have taken small engines basic, and I'm in the middle of intermediate 1. Then I've also taken metalworking, and then also I'm currently in welding 1A.
Oh, wow. And what's the difference between metalworking and the welding class?
So metalworking is helping you understanding like the properties of metal. You don't actually, you get to use certain kinds of welders, but you don't get to use, stick welders and all those.
Gotcha.
So, the difference really is it's more so the basics, kind of like how you have the lawnmower engines versus full-size car engines.
Yeah. And what are some of the things you learned in your small engines class that you'll take with you for years to come?
Well, the small engines kind of help me understand like the basics of an engine, and also how I can apply like my knowledge to them. And then that'll help me, like, once I learn that, it really made me understand, like, working on my own cars and stuff.
And what would you say is the most challenging thing about working with small engines?
I'm trying to think what the most challenging thing would be. Probably have to be with how many bolts there are and how they're all really small and easy
Yes.
to lose.
I think that's a great answer. People off camera probably can't see it. We have a number of small engines, and I've walked in here and Hutchinson High School, and sometimes these things are torn in pieces, and I'm just like, man, not sure how that thing's going back together, and I wonder how many pieces don't go back into that final product.
And that definitely happens. One of the things I brought in was, you'll notice there's these tackle boxes, and I brought them in and I taught them a system. We called it the snake system when I was working on transmissions, and it's, as you're taking parts out, you put them in order, and then you just remember your order, whatever that order is. And that seemed to help kids.
That's great.
Previously, when I came in, I had to figure this out, but he did a lot of sandwich bags. And so the kids would throw bolts in sandwich bags, and they all went into these metal pans. And I was going, I don't know as I'd be able to remember all this stuff. I think we can do something better. So I just kept thinking about it. I was like, tackle box.
That's a great system.
Tackle box.
Yeah.
So, and the kids, I can tell you this, a lot of the kids, it really does help them. And I know this because some of the feedback when kids do mix those up, there'll be a kid in that'll self-correct and go, well, you're not following the order. Get your order down and it'll be just fine. And I go, there you go. Like, we're teaching, they're learning.
Very nice.
Lots of good stuff. And I agree with that. In the end, when you've done this long enough, it's funny. We always say it's all nuts and bolts. But that is, I can definitely relate to that. There's several times where, if a technician, when I was still in the industry, left and you had to make sure a job got done for them, and you'd have a coffee can full of nuts and bolts, and you just go, what am I going to do with this? And you just had to decipher and figure it out. But that's that experience piece that really helps with that. So that is definitely one of the toughest pieces about it. So.
Absolutely. And talking about experience and tough processes, here at North Pole High, very proud of the ASE certification, only certified high school shop in the state. So congratulations. That's huge. But can you talk about what that is and why it's such a big deal for you and our students?
So the ASE accreditation is basically a standard. It's a standard that's laid down by the Automotive Service Excellence Institute that comes and they say, hey, like, based on what we have experienced, this is what students should learn. And our program's the maintenance light repair, so the MLR. And I say, if they want to go into an entry level technician job anywhere, whether that's a dealership, small shop, or, if we have, a government entity, or like we have the gold mines out here, we want them to know these basic things, service and things. So the process itself is very vigorous. I can tell you that. Essentially, when I came in and I started to understand what's going on, I was going, oh, this is an audit. I'm familiar with these. Okay. So then it was a matter of, I know there's information out there for these things. And so some of the simple things I ran into were, what are your rules and how do you deal with if a kid gets injured? And I go, the quick answer is, well, I send them to the nurse. Well, they don't accept that. You got to have something like, what's your policy in place? So then it was, reaching out and finding out what that policy is. How do we tie that back? So once you got those things figured out, I actually learned a lot. And I was sharing that with a lot of the students, the teachers I talked to all the time. I'm like, hey, guess what I learned? There's this policy and it ties back, and I get it now. And so I got a better bird's eye view. But it was also a matter of, we had to track students previously, and that was done. And you'll find that those things kind of get lost in translation with turnover. And so some of that stuff was lost, and we picked it back up. And I decided, hey, I'm going to take this on. And so I track my students and I keep relationships with them. I still go in. One of the promises I made to my students is, hey, if I get you in a shop, my promise is that they will not just use you to change oil. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to make that very clear when I come in. So learning that and then being able to support those students has been really great. It's been a long time that we've worked on it. When I first came in, and you're still kind of learning the ropes about how the school district works and what you need to do daily. And that balance, Million talks about this all the time. Once school gets going, it starts coming at you super fast. And so trying to work on the accreditation at the same time as teaching. And I just got to the point where, I was telling some of the other teachers I talk to on a regular basis, like, I know I can do a better job teaching, but I got to focus on this accreditation right now. And once I get done with this, I'm going to circle back around and we're going to make those improvements to those classes. And so it's been nice. Like it was a nice weight that was lifted, and I'm kind of going back in and going like, hey, let's do this better. Let's do this better. So,
well, I love that. I mean, you're such a humble guy. Like, I've been in this class, and you're an amazing teacher. And so even the small tweaks that you're talking about, making, to the way that you instruct students have no idea about that, but it's just such a testament to what a great guy you are, that you're reflective on your practice. And even though you've had to divert some attention to the accreditation process, you're like, sweet, now that I can balance that out, now I can think about instruction in the way that I'm meeting my student needs again.
Yeah, I think a lot of that came from coaching as well, coaching kids. And when you're going like, I really want to teach this kid, and this kid really wants to learn, there's a disconnect here, and that's on me. I got to be better. I got to do better. So being able to do those things, because of course I do. I want every kid that I, instruct to succeed. So when I fall short on those things, I'm probably the hardest person on myself. So I really, really try and go back and go, how can I do this better? And every kid is different, and you're going to see that, and I've learned that. And so sometimes what I found is less is more with some kids, where it's going like, you have everything. You're just wanting me to hold your hand right now. And what you need is for me not to hold your hand. So I'm putting that pressure back on you. And that's one of the things I have done is I've incorporated with my upper level classes. I have positions where I call them foremen, and I go, you're a foreman. You're going to work with the intermediate kids. You're going to show them how this is done. And you'll see it immediately. Even though they know this stuff, they get nervous and they go, I don't know. And you go, no, you know what? Yep. And I've taught you the basics. The service manual's right there. Go give it a try, but you cannot do it for them. That's the biggest thing that kids struggle with. And then, the best part about that is you're teaching them that when they're able to teach other kids, they really, truly understand what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them are humbled by that, and they go, this is hard. I go, it's super hard. So.
Leading other people and working them, it is hard work, but what a great opportunity for them to be able to help others get better at their craft, but then also that leadership role that
it just works well, because the other students too, they take to that too, where it's another classmate, right? They're going like, okay, that makes sense. There's things they can do that as we get older, we forget about the bridging of those gaps, and then we just if you observe and you go, okay, I got this.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And so after students make it out of your course and they go through an ASC certification pathway, what do students know how to do, and kind of what's that next level if they want to continue to progress?
So I would say that a lot of the kids that come out of here, because they get so much hands-on stuff. I mean, we're above and beyond the MLR program. I mean, I dial.
What does MLR stand for?
Maintenance Light Repair.
Got it.
And so, like, I've tried to stick to those. They have tasks. There's so many tasks that ASC dictates. Hey, they have to complete these tasks. These kids, when they're motivated, they will rip right through those tasks. And I'm going, I need something else. Kind of like I was showing you with these core engines. I found, they were stacking up in the back, and I was like, I got to do something with those. And I said, you know what? These kids are going to tear them apart, and they're going to gain that knowledge. So they have that extra time now, and it keeps them busy. And you'll find, as long as you keep them busy, they will keep working on stuff. I mean, they've been ripping through these transmissions and engines for the last week, and they're done. Like, they've ripped through 5 engines and transmissions. And then it works out great because, as I was saying, they're putting them into barrels for Mr. Olson that then takes them to the recycle factory, and he gets money for that. And it's great where we're helping either the dealerships or the small shops get rid of those cores, and it's a great learning experience, and it keeps the kids busy. So
absolutely. And Andrea, can you talk a little bit about our partnership with CTC and kind of what the next step might be there for ASC?
It's super exciting because and Travis mentioned it earlier. Right now, CTC is offering the MLR, and for our students who would go through that here in our community would have to leave to go and do the second level. So that would be going down to Anchorage. And as much as we like our neighbors in the South, we also want to keep our kids here. So what happens a lot of times is when kids leave, they find jobs down there, and we weren't getting them back. So it's been a very very fun conversation that we've been having with CTC about them looking at expanding their program to that next level. And so we're looking to see how we can help them do that. And, I think the first step is that we have customers. We have students that are interested in moving to that next level. And, and they also, their program there, their MLR is ASC certified. So a lot of people who are on Travis's advisory committee are also on theirs. So that's, a beautiful thing, because then we're able to connect up those programs. So it looks like here in the future, we're going to be bringing in that second level at CTC. So that's going to be good for our kids.
That's awesome. I mean, I think any way that we can break down barriers and not, make students have to go outside of Fairbanks to do it, I think is great. I mean, there's a certain amount of students that, yes, they might have the support or the resources to do that, but having to leave Fairbanks is a limiting factor. And so being able to do that right here, I think will be great for our students and our community. So
it is. And the demand is so high here locally. I mean, any of the trades, of course, all the guys that I grew up with, a lot of them are in the different trades, and they're always, give me your best. I'm like, everybody wants the best.
Yeah.
Like, those guys have figured it out.
Yep.
Like, you got to come look at my younger ones. You got to get them early. So
yeah, absolutely. And Andrea, I mean, maybe you talk a little bit about that. We had a signing day in the spring or the summer, and it was great to see the trades represented there and how diverse a group that was. We talked about females in the workplace a little earlier. There were a number of graduating seniors that were females that were entering into the trades. But one of the things I heard at that signing day is like, we would love to double, triple, quadruple the amount of students that are here, in the next couple of years. So could you talk a little bit about signing days and just our partnerships with local trade unions and groups? So
we are in constant communication. I'm going to the Pipeline Training Center tomorrow to meet first thing in the morning to talk about some of these opportunities that we're looking for students. Staying connected with these partners, such as in our trades, we're looking at we always kind of get the inside view about work that's coming up, what's going to be happening in the interior of Alaska. We are all crossing our fingers for the gas line for students, and I believe it was in the paper last week, just about the sheer number of trades that you just in the building trades world, plumber, pipe fitters, IBEW, engineers, laborers, what sheer numbers they need there. Those signing days are really to celebrate those kids. We see a lot of things celebrating students, athletic signings. We see kids who are, doing academic things. Those are all wonderful and perfect. And I love that we do that. And so the signing day just is an added plus. And for us, it's nice to see those successes. Absolutely. One of the students who female students who went into the plumber pipe fitters was actually in Pete Daly's first Girls Who welding class that he offered. So we're really seeing really good returns from that. And just being able to celebrate students. We want to do that more and more and more. And being able to have those students see that we appreciate all the hard work that they did, and letting our business partners know that we really appreciate them. We couldn't do it without them. We couldn't do it without Amy, Shoemaker at the Pipeline Training Center. We just have a great group that comes together and sits down, and we talk about the needs, and everyone is answering yes, and we're figuring out how to do it and how to get those things done. So that's where you're going to see more of those kind of things coming forward, celebrating our students.
Awesome. Love that. And you named a couple partners. I do think it'd be great to do some shout out to partners that make our programs go. So
Jeremy Warwick from HQ Auto. We've got both Aaron Seekins and Josh Geyer from Seekins Ford Lincoln. Let's see. Crystal Tidwell was a huge help. Has offered several times to come in and grab females and take them around.
Awesome.
Let's see. Kendall Automotive. They've been a huge help too. So there's definitely been the Napa partners. They actually came in. Diesel Doctor. Drawing a blank on their names right now, but a couple of brothers, they own it.
Marty Boudreaux.
Yes.
And this was off script, you know, we hadn't planned this, but I'm like, it'd be a great way to highlight. I mean, there's so many people that connect into our shops and our CTE programs that they really couldn't go without it. And what a kind of robust experience it gives our students because of the different ways that they're willing to partner with our school district.
Yeah. And one of the greatest things that all of those people I just listed was like, the automotive game is expensive. Parts, tools, shop equipment, any of that stuff that they donate has been huge. It's really, really a huge benefit for our program that they've come in and really helped us with those things. So,
well, and I know you've been slowly updating your vehicles here and trying to get your vehicles out of the 90s, not that there aren't 90s cars driving on the road, which need service, but really trying to bring in more updated cars for students to be able to see and work on and, you know, create that real shop, real industry environment. And you've had a lot of your partners jump in and donate cars to your program.
Yep, donate vehicles. I was actually talking to Luke about that with the canyon in the background, where just by bringing the kids to the skills automotive competition before it officially came back, showing up at UAA, that was one of the conversations that he's like, hey, can't really help you with money, but what else? And I said, hey, you got lots of vehicles out here. Like, I would love to have one of these newer vehicles. And we just so happened that we were able to agree to that, and they donated to the program. And now that we are accredited, I know Ford themselves is looking to get us something. So
that's awesome.
The local dealership here, this vehicle came from them. They have a matching one, so we have parts we can steal off of it to keep it going. So it's very cool. I mean, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
So.
And Andrea, if somebody's listening to this and they do want to help out and they think that they would like to partner with a district, where should they go?
They can contact me at the school district building. I'm kind of the disseminator of information. So if somebody comes and they say, you know, I have a 2017 vehicle that I would like to donate, you know, it's I'm the one who, you know, contacts Travis, and I contact Hutchinson and see who has a need for a vehicle. And so, which is nice. If it's one of those newer vehicles, then we can trade out one of these older vehicles and, you know, thank it for its hard work it's done for us, but move it along. Yes.
Absolutely.
I think there's a huge person that I forgot in there too, and that's Jerry Million. He's kind of been the glue in so much of this. So
absolutely.
I'll make sure I give a shout out to Jerry.
Also Matt from Ford.
Yes, Matt as well.
All right.
Matt Hayes.
All right, Jeremy, I don't want to leave you out in the conversation. So you're a sophomore in high school. And so next couple years, what lies ahead for you, do you think?
Kind of unknown, but I'm hoping to at least finish out the automotive, what did you call it again?
Pathway.
Thank you. I'd like to finish that out because as of now, it would be my junior year I would finish. So I want to finish that. I might pursue welding a little more. And then besides that, I'm not very sure.
Okay. So, and we were talking before the podcast started, and you're already working in the automotive industry. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what are you doing?
I'm a shop hand. I help out the technicians and, you know, at a local business. So
awesome.
Do that.
Well, thank you to that local business for employing one of our high school students here. I mean, I think that hands-on experience and opportunity, you know, whether or not you continue to want to pursue a career in automotive or not, is going to serve you well for, you know, the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think it's a great partnership that we're seeing. It's coming back to those days of the old that I was talking about. And it's just, you know, I'll say this, I tell businesses that when they call me, you know, of course they always want that senior that's graduating, that's got the experience. And I tell them, you want the young one. Yeah. The young one is the one you want to get them in your shop, mold them to how you want them, and the loyalty will be there. And it's great because they're realizing that the smart businesses are realizing, like, hey, I'm not able to just go like I used to, put an ad in the paper and get a really good tech. Like, everybody wants that tech. Yeah. So the competition is fierce for that. But if you go and try and go after the younger, eager students that are out there, like that's what you really want to build your future on. So
yeah, and if we have families listening, I mean, what might be the best way that if they do, you know, have a child that's interested in working at Seekins or Kindle or doing some of these things, how would they help guide, their students to potentially secure that opportunity?
If they're looking to, are you talking about the actual pathway, getting them into the program?
Yeah, either the pathway or, different opportunities, at dealerships or shops around town.
So the big piece is once they get their foot in the door, like that's just a great opportunity, because one of the things you'll hear any of these industry partners that we have is they talk about, we don't even care if they stay as technicians, as long as they're supporting the automotive industry. And really that's the transportation industry as well, because it's all tied together. And so whether it's a parts person or a service advisor, or maybe it's just a shop hand, or it's a manager, they need everything at the highest level. It just, the demand is so high that they're just happy to have people in the shop and working for them. So.
Yeah, that's great. If you're willing to work hard, the opportunities are out there for you anymore.
Yeah. And it's,
really is.
any one of our pathways, there's, when we look, any one of them, there's so many different aspects to that world. When you look at a dealership, you're looking at the guys in the shop and the people in the business office and, the customer service. There's just so many components of that. So I always tell kids, like, if you're looking at something, if that may, at the end game, it might not be what you end up in, but you can still be part of that world. Not every kid is going to be, an NFL football player, but that world as an NFL football player, jump into our health science. Yeah. There's, sports medicine stuff going on. You have, your CNA. There's all sorts of different pathways in a pathway that can branch out, and there's just so many opportunities. And our community has jumped in and opened their doors and their hearts to our kids and our business owners. I grew up in this community, and the outpouring of interest in what our kids are doing and getting them out there and having these experiences I have never seen before. So super excited by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kudos to you for helping us get there and continuing to support and build our pathways. The experiences and opportunities our students have today are tremendous, and we continue to want to build on that. So, well, thank you for your willingness to join the conversation today. It was super robust. We have to do this again because I feel like we could go on for another hour. This is a great conversation, but I'm going to wrap it up today. So thank you to our panelists today. Thank you for all of our partners supporting our programs here within the district. And if you're somebody out there listening and you want to partner with our district, get a hold of Andrea because there's more work to be done and we can put you to work. So thank you very much. This is another edition of the Alaska EdVenture podcast with Dr. Luke Meinert, and we'll catch you next time.